During a family trip, my husband's parents decided I should sit at a separate table. Nobody spoke to me the entire time. When I asked my husband, Lucas, about it, he just shrugged.
"That's just how they are," he said.
I smiled and replied,
"Great."
I've got my own way of doing things, too. The next morning, once they realized what I had done, panic hit hard. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The snide remarks, the cold stares, the way I was always treated like a guest in my own marriage. But I kept pretending not to notice, because I loved Lucas. I believed that if I kept showing patience and kindness, things would eventually change. But they didn't. Instead, I ended up stuck on a so-called relaxing family getaway to Hilton Head, South Carolina, that quickly turned into something else entirely. We had just checked into the resort. It was beautiful, straight out of a travel ad. White sandy beaches, palm trees swaying, the ocean's rhythm in the distance. I was genuinely looking forward to it. I hoped, maybe this time, Raphael and Carla, my in-laws, would actually accept me, that we'd finally connect, laugh, and share moments like a real family. I was wrong. On the very first night, we went to a nice restaurant for dinner. The server led us to a long, elegant table prepared just for us. Just as I was about to sit beside Lucas, Raphael interrupted. "There must be a mistake," he said, shaking his head. "She'll need her own table." I stared, thinking I misheard. "Come again?" Carla didn't even glance up from the menu. "That's just how we do things." I turned to Lucas, waiting for him to say something, to speak up and defend me. I was his wife, not a stranger. But he simply exhaled and muttered, "That's just their way." So I sat alone, at a separate table. I should have left right then and there, but I didn't. I convinced myself it was just one odd moment. But it wasn't. The next morning, I woke up early and headed down for breakfast, thinking I'd join them. But they weren't there. I texted Lucas, no reply. I wandered for nearly 30 minutes before finally spotting them all, gathered around a big table, halfway through their meal, laughing like everything was fine.
As if I didn't exist.
"Why didn't you tell me you were coming down?" I asked. Raphael barely looked up. "We figured you'd catch on." Carla sipped her coffee. "That's how we do things." Lucas? He was already eating like nothing was out of the ordinary. And right then I finally understood. I wasn't one of them. I never had been. And Lucas, he was never truly with me. The rest of the trip followed the same pattern. Every meal, I sat alone. Every activity, they forgot to include me. They went on a private boat ride I only found out from Instagram. A fancy wine tasting? I saw them dressed up in the lobby heading out. Not a word said to me. When I asked Lucas afterward, "You could have at least texted me." He sighed again, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "It's just how they are." That's all he ever said. By the fourth day, I gave up. Stopped asking. Stopped caring. They wanted me to be invisible? Fine. But they didn't know what was coming. Because I had my own way, too. That evening, while they were out drinking and clinking glasses to their perfect family trip, I quietly returned to the hotel room and got to work. I wasn't just going to be left out. I was removing myself entirely. And they were going to feel it. I opened my email, pulled up all the booking confirmations, and got busy. Because guess what? I had made all the reservations. The hotel was in my name. The rental car? On my credit card. The dinner bookings? My account. The spa day Carla had been gushing about for weeks? Yep, I scheduled that too. One by one, I canceled everything. Their rooms gone. Rental car revoked. Waterfront dinner? Not happening. I even called the spa and politely let them know Carla wouldn't be attending her appointment. Then I packed my suitcase, grabbed the keys to the car, and left. While they were raising their glasses, completely unaware, I was already on the road, heading toward Charleston. I booked myself a luxurious suite, ordered room service, and sat out on the balcony listening to the waves, finally feeling at peace. Meanwhile, back at the resort, chaos was brewing. I woke up the next morning in Charleston more rested than I'd felt in days. The ocean breeze drifted through the curtains as I sipped my coffee on a cozy lounge chair, watching the tide. Then my phone started buzzing. Lucas. I ignored it. Then Carla. Then Lucas again. Then Raphael. I turned off the sound and smiled. They had finally realized. I could picture the exact moment it all hit them. Fernando stumbling out of bed, groggy and annoyed, only to find a hotel manager knocking at the door. Sir, there's an issue with your reservation. Carla, mid-stretch, grabbing her phone to check the day's schedule, only to be greeted by a flood of cancellation emails. And Lucas, rubbing his forehead, still half asleep, as he hears his mother's voice climbing from mild irritation to full-blown rage. No hotel rooms. No rental car. No plans. I took a long sip of my coffee and smiled. A few hours later, once I got bored of the silence, I checked my phone. Lucas, where are you? Lucas, what the hell is going on? Lucas, you need to fix this right now. I decided to answer the next call just for entertainment. The moment I picked up, Lucas barked. Where are you? Charleston.
Pause.
Charleston. What the hell are you doing there? Enjoying my vacation. Silence. I could hear voices in the background, Carla yelling at the hotel staff, Fernando cursing under his breath. Then Lucas asked, voice low, like he was trying to process it all. You canceled everything?
Yep.
He inhaled sharply. Do you even realize what you've done? My parents have nowhere to stay. We had plans. You left us stranded. Oh no, I said, my voice soaked in fake sympathy. That must be so uncomfortable. Silence again. I could practically hear his brain catching up. He knew exactly what I was doing. You all wanted me separate, I added. So I gave you exactly that. You're being ridiculous, he snapped. You need to come back. I laughed. No, Lucas. I really don't. And I hung up. Later, I found out just how bad things had gotten for them. Since the hotel was fully booked, they had to scramble to find somewhere else to stay. They ended up at a rundown roadside motel 20 minutes away. The kind of place with flickering lights and a strange damp smell. No rental car meant they had to rely on ride shares. But Hilton Head isn't exactly overflowing with drivers. They got hit with surge pricing on every ride. And the fancy waterfront dinner Fernando had been bragging about for weeks? Completely booked. They had to settle for some tourist trap filled with screaming kids and overpriced seafood. Carla lost it at the spa. When she found out her reservation was gone, she threw a full tantrum and demanded they make room for her anyway. They didn't. I got all of this from the angry texts Lucas sent me later. Lucas, you really just left us like this? Lucas, my mom is furious. She got embarrassed at the spa. Lucas, my dad's losing it over the dinner thing. Lucas, I hope you're proud of yourself.
I was.
I really was. I figured that was the end of it, a little chaos, some well-deserved payback. But then something unexpected happened. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Lucas. It was a message from Mariana, his cousin. Mariana, hey, I heard what happened. And honestly,
good for you.
I frowned, rereading it. Mariana and I had always been on good terms, but we weren't particularly close. Mimi? What do you mean? Her next message made my heart drop. Mariana, they did the same thing to Lucas's ex-wife. I sat straight up. Lucas's ex-wife. He had told me they just grew apart, nothing dramatic, just different directions. I never questioned it. Me, what do you mean? What happened? Mariana. She went on a trip with them. They treated her like trash. Made her sit alone, ignored her completely, acted like she wasn't there. She left halfway through and filed for divorce a month later. My heart was racing. Mariana messaged me again. Her words were simple, but they hit hard. I didn't say anything before, because I thought you already knew. But after what they did to you, I realized. He never told you, did he?
No.
No, he hadn't. Because if he had, I would have never agreed to go on that trip. If I had known the truth, I would have seen it coming. This wasn't just their way. This was a pattern. And Lucas? He had known exactly what was about to happen. And he let it happen anyway. That night, Lucas called again. This time, I picked up. I need you to fix this, he said immediately, voice low and tense with frustration. But I didn't let him finish.
No.
I understand everything now. This wasn't about some quirky tradition. This was about control. You knew what your parents were going to do, and you let it happen. Silence. Then came the giveaway.
Who told you that?
Bingo. I laughed. So, it's true. I wasn't the first. More silence.
And then a sigh.
Look, my parents can be a bit much. But they mean well. Lucas, I cut him off. They don't even see me as part of your family. He hesitated. And right then, I knew. He wasn't going to defend me. He never had. Instead, he said, "Let's just fix this." I stared out at the waves, crashing softly against the shore. "No, Lucas," I said calmly. "I think I already did." And I hung up. After the call, I just sat there staring at my phone, thoughts racing. Lucas knew. He had seen this all happen before. And still, he let me walk right into it. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. I poured myself another drink, leaned back on the lounge chair, trying to enjoy the rest of my night. But something kept gnawing at me. If he lied about his ex-wife, what else had he kept from me? So, I started digging. I opened Facebook, typed her name, Camila, Lucas's ex-wife. I'd never looked her up before.
But now?
I needed answers. Her profile was private, but among the mutual friends I saw something. Patricia, her sister, and her posts were public. I clicked on one from about 2 years ago, right after Camila and Lucas split. Never let a man's family break you. Never let them convince you you're less than you are. My sister deserved better. We tried to warn her. Never again. My stomach twisted. I scrolled down, and there it was. A comment from Mariana. I wish she had listened to us. At least now she's free. Listen to them. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to do. I could message Patricia, ask her what really happened. But was I ready to hear it? I stared at the screen for a while. Then I took a deep breath and typed, "Hey, this might sound random, but I think we need to talk." She replied within minutes. "Patricia, I was wondering when you'd reach out." That single sentence hit like a punch to the gut. Me? So, you know who I am? Patricia. Of course. We've been waiting for this moment. I froze.
Me?
We? What do you mean? Patricia. Camila wasn't the first. And she definitely wasn't the last. My breath caught in my throat.
Me?
Patricia, what are you saying? Patricia. I'm saying, Lucas has done this before. More than once. And his parents, they've played the same game again and again. If you're talking to me now, it means you just went through it too. I felt sick. This wasn't just some weird quirk or a one-off situation. It was a game. A twisted family ritual they played with every woman Lucas brought into their lives. They never saw his partners as equals or even people. They saw them as problems to be eliminated quietly. And Lucas? He let it happen again and again. I couldn't stop asking myself, why hadn't anyone told me? But then I remembered what Patricia said. They had tried. Lucas just made sure every woman stayed cut off, isolated. He always spun the same story. That his family had quirks. That their traditions were harmless. That his ex was just too sensitive. He told me Camila had always overreacted, couldn't adapt, created drama where there was none. But now I saw it clearly. Camila hadn't been dramatic. She had been cornered. And now so had I. Or at least, I had been. Until now. I didn't sleep that night. The realization that I had wasted years of my life on this man hit me like fire in my chest. But even through the rage and exhaustion, something else was eating at me. Why had Lucas called so many times? Why was he acting so desperate? And then at 6 in the morning, I got my answer. A message from an unknown number lit up my screen. "Ma'am, this is Officer Daniels with the Hilton Head Police Department. We need to speak with you regarding a missing persons report filed by your husband." I sat up so fast I nearly dropped my phone. A missing persons report? My hands trembled as I called back. The second the officer answered, I blurted out, "I'm fine. I'm not missing." There was a pause. Then the officer asked gently, "Ma'am, are you saying you left on your own?" "Yes," I said quickly. "Obviously. My husband knows exactly where I am. He's been calling me nonstop." The officer sighed. "He reported that you left without saying anything and that you weren't answering. He said he was concerned about your safety." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. This wasn't about safety. This was about control. Lucas wasn't worried about me. He was trying to drag me back under his thumb. I took a breath and steadied my voice. "Officer, I am completely fine. I am in Charleston. I left Hilton Head on purpose. I am not missing. And I do not want my husband contacting me again." There was a pause. Then the officer asked, "Would you like to file a formal no-contact request?" I hesitated, but only for a moment. "Yes," I answered. And just like that, I took the first legal step away from Lucas. Not even an hour later, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't the police. It was Carla. Her message read, "I cannot believe you would humiliate us like this." I laughed out loud, ignored it. Then another message came in. "You made Lucas involve the police. Do you have any idea how this makes us look?" I stared at the screen. "Oh, I made him do that?" I rolled my eyes and took another sip of my coffee. But the messages didn't stop. They just got worse. "This family has done nothing but try to welcome you. You're being incredibly selfish. You need to come back and fix this." And then came the final one. The one that made my blood run cold. "If you don't come back, Lucas is going to make things very difficult for you." I froze. It wasn't even subtle. It was a threat. I sat back and read that last message over and over. I had thought this was just about power, a family obsessed with control. But this wasn't just about humiliation anymore. It was about destruction. They weren't trying to push me out. They were trying to crush me. And if I didn't act fast, Lucas was going to make sure they succeeded. I stared at Carla's words, that final sentence. "If you don't come back, Lucas is going to make things very difficult for you." It wasn't a warning. It was a promise. Something shifted inside me in that moment. This wasn't a misunderstanding or cold in-laws. This was war. And I was supposed to roll over and lose. But I wouldn't. Not this time. I cracked my knuckles, took a deep breath, and typed one single reply. "Perfect. Let's make things difficult then." And with that, I booked a hotel conference room in Charleston. Sent out the invitations to Lucas, his parents, and Mariana. If they wanted a war, I was bringing it straight to their doorstep. The next morning, I sat at the head of a long wooden table. There was nothing on it but bottled water and silence. I didn't wait long. The door slammed open. Lucas was first storming in, his jaw so tight I thought he might break a tooth. Carla followed close behind, heels clacking like a metronome of rage. Fernando's face was already red, his hands balled into fists. Mariana came in last, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. But she gave me a subtle nod. I didn't know if she was here to mediate, witness, or just enjoy the chaos. I leaned back, calm and steady. "Glad you could all make it." Lucas's voice cut through the room like a knife. "What the hell is this?" I smiled. Slowly, deliberately. "This," I said, "is a conversation." He had been so desperate to talk. So I gave him exactly that. Fernando scoffed from across the table, arms crossed, clearly unimpressed. Thought this was funny, didn't he? But I stayed calm. This wasn't funny. It was pathetic. This entire family played twisted little games with every woman who dared walk through their door, and this time they chose the wrong one. Carla narrowed her eyes. Claimed I had abandoned them. I actually laughed. Abandoned them? Coming from the same people who spent an entire vacation pretending I didn't exist? That was rich. Lucas gripped the back of a chair, frustrated. Told me I was blowing things out of proportion. And that was the moment. I slammed my hands on the table, loud enough to make Carla flinch. My voice cut through the silence like glass. "I'm your wife. Not a stranger. Not some outsider passing through. Your wife. And you let them treat me like I was nothing." Then I pointed right at Lucas. You knew. You knew this wasn't the first time they'd done this. You knew what was happening. And you just let it happen again. He went pale. Carla jumped in, her voice pitched high. Said they were simply following family tradition.
No.
That wasn't tradition. That was control. That was a test. And every woman who ever walked into this family failed it because none of you ever wanted us to belong. Lucas shook his head, still trying to deny it. So I pulled out my phone, opened the messages from Patricia, and placed it in front of him. Told him to read it. He hesitated. Again, I told him, read it. He picked it up, and I watched every muscle in his face tighten as he scrolled. His jaw locked. His eyes narrowed. When he finished, he tossed the phone away like it had burned his hands. This proves nothing. Fernando crossed his arms again. Accused me of dragging up old stories. Said it had nothing to do with us. So I turned to Carla. Really? Because just last night, you sent me a message threatening me. Said if I didn't come back, Lucas would make my life difficult. Her mouth snapped shut. Mariana let out a low whistle. Lucas turned to his mother. His voice sharp. You did what? Carla stiffened. Claimed she was just trying to make me understand. Understand what? That you've been playing this game for years? That you did the exact same thing to Camila? Fernando looked away. Carla shot him a glare. But it was too late. The damage was done. Lucas's jaw clenched. I saw it. The crack. That tiny fracture in his blind loyalty to his parents. The first moment he realized, maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the one who had been wrong all along. He looked at me. And for once he looked unsure. I waited. Watching. Hoping, just for a second, that he might finally say something that mattered. But all he did was run his hands through his hair and mutter, I can fix this. And that told me everything I needed to know. No apology. No regret. Just damage control. I leaned back and let out a long breath. You really don't get it, do you?
Silence.
Then I stood, adjusted my bag, and said the words that would finally end it all. I'm not coming back, Lucas. He blinked, stunned.
Wait. What?
I'm done. His eyes widened in disbelief. You're serious? Mariana snorted quietly. Seriously? You haven't figured that out yet? Carla's voice spiked. This is absurd. You're throwing away your marriage over a misunderstanding? I shook my head slowly. No, Carla. You threw it away. You and Fernando, with your twisted little rituals. Lucas was just too weak to stop any of it. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. Please wait. Let's talk this through. I held up a hand. No, Lucas. You talk. You always talk. You make excuses. You let them manipulate you. But I'm done listening. I picked up my phone and headed toward the door. Lucas's voice rose behind me, almost panicked. Where are you going? I turned around, just once. I'm leaving. Carla laughed bitterly behind me. You can't just walk out of a marriage. I met her eyes with a cold, unreadable stare. Watch me. And I walked out. It took 6 months to finalize the divorce. Lucas tried everything. Pleading, blaming, even accusing me of overreacting. But I never looked back. Mariana kept in touch. Told me everything had fallen apart after I left. Said Lucas finally confronted them. That it got ugly. Fernando called him weak. Carla cried, said I had brainwashed him. For the first time, Lucas saw them for what they really were. But it didn't change anything for me, because I was already gone. I moved back to Charleston, got a new apartment, reconnected with old friends, started building a new life. One night, months later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Lucas. I see it now. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it, because for the first time in years, I was free.